warned against disruption of Saturday's election as resident vote new state assembly members. No increase in sight as customers struggle to get cash from Akure banks. Shiite members clash with El Rufai's convoy claims lives in Kaduna. And from the foreign scene, United States takes counter-terrorism troops to West Africa. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on the news. I am Oyewumi Ayenigbara. Residents of Ondo State have called on security agencies to further improve their conduct in a bid to enhance a free and credible process ahead of tomorrow's House of Assembly elections. The residents commended the security personnel for the February 25 elections with a task to do more. Osrc Saeed Aribisala reports that Ondo State Police Force pledged to act professionally, charging residents to come out en masse without fear of intimidation.
Before the presidential and national assembly elections, security agencies in Ondo State held series of engagements in a bid to ensure safety during the electioneering process. The aftermath of the February 25 poll and the conduct of security personnel in the state is, however, receiving commendations from some residents as a result of the crisis-free period.
Hemisphere of what we had last time during the election, at least to a large extent, we can rate it a 60% because to some extent it's a bit peaceful.
Fantastic, because number one, there was no casualty that occurred in some of those news I tend to listen to, and some of the words, because I'm on different social media, that involve some news and some other. Apart from those states generally, there was no casualty.
My own area, things went smoothly. People, agents doing their normal job. You understand. But security wise, everything went well.
The security agents, they performed brilliantly at the polling where I cast my vote.
With the hope that the same age-free process will play out ahead the March 18 House of Assembly election, residents called on security agencies to up their ante.
The calmness that occurred the last election should also be practiced during this weekend for the election that will be coming up this weekend. We should tend to make peace to reign.
I think one aspect the security agencies should really work on is the aspect of thugs and the people that are, let me say, the so-called influential in intimidating the average voter. When I say the average voter, the average man, average woman that is just coming to the polling unit with a plain mind.
They should put on more efforts better than the other time.
On the preparations of security agencies for the election, the police public relations officer Fumilayo Odulami Yumisoya said all hands are on deck to provide a watertight security.
Like I said, we had a meeting, and part of what we did was to review what we did that made the last election better, so that we can do better, more this time around. And we've ensured that everything we need to put in place is already in place. We've met with INEC on things they need to improve on also, and other agencies.
Omisoya enjoined the electorate to conduct themselves in a peaceful manner during the poll.
To the good people of Ondo State, it's a promise kept. We told you the last time that please feel free to come out and exercise your franchise, because on our home part, we'll do everything to protect your lives and property. We have lived up to expectation, and we are not going to renege on it this time. We are still going to do more this time. On
February the 3rd, political parties entered a peace accord with the Nigeria Police Force in Ondo State, promising to play according to the rules. This bond is, however, expected to go beyond the presidential and National Assembly election and effective in the March 18 House of Assembly poll. Sahir Aribisala, Osrc News.
Meanwhile, the Ondo State Police Command has ordered the restriction of all forms of vehicular movement from 12 midnight to 6 p.m. tomorrow throughout the state. Only those on essential services such as INEC officials, electoral observers, accredited media and observers, ambulances responding to medical emergencies, firefighters are allowed to move around due to the exigencies of their jobs. In the same vein, the command is enforcing a ban on all security aids to VIPs and escorts from accompanying their principals and politicians to polling booths during the election. In a statement, the Ondo State Commissioner of Police Oyeyemi Oyediro solicited the support of residents in ensuring a smooth conduct of the election as adequate security has been put in place to deal with violations. In the meantime, the police in Bayelsa say they have deployed the entire officers and men of the state command for tomorrow's House of Assembly elections in the state. The Commissioner of Police in charge of election security in Bayelsa, Mohammed Dankwara, said this while addressing journalists during the deployment of officers and other personnel at the state headquarters in Yenagoa. He assured the people of the state, particularly voters, of adequate security before, during and after the assembly poll. Dankwara, who called on residents of the states to come out to participate in the election without fear, said the command was working with all the security and paramilitary agencies to ensure violence-free balloting. And now, Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has cautioned traditional institutions ahead of Saturday's governorship and House of Assembly elections. This is contained in a statement by the Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Benga Omotosho, following news that some traditional rulers had scheduled oral rites in their communities for the election day. The governor cautioned traditional institutions holding customary rites to ensure that the activities do not infringe on the fundamental rights of citizens who are not of their faith, especially during the elections. He also warned that anyone planning to foment trouble will have the law to contend with. Also, the Zamfara State Chapter of the National Youth Council of Nigeria has urged youth in the state to come out en masse to vote tomorrow. The council said this would enable their presence to protect their interest and ensure development in all ramifications for the overall development of the state. Speaking in Gusau, the state capital, the chairman of the state council, Babashiru Garuba, called on youth to refrain from any form of electoral crimes. He said security operatives would spare no one who contributes to stoking the ember of insecurity or election violence in the state. And still on election matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has defended the award of a contract for printing election materials to Binani Printing Press Limited. The printing press is alleged to be linked to a governorship candidate in Adamawa, Aishatu Ahmed, popularly known as Binani. It was gathered that the contract was awarded for the printing of election results sheets and security documents for the general elections. INEC National Commissioner and Chairman of Information and Voter Education, Festus Okoye, in a statement said the contract was handed out after competitive and transparent bidding. Okoye said the electoral body carried out a due diligence inspection process, adding that the candidate was not listed as one of the directors of the company. You're still watching Osrc News at 7. After the break, we'll bring you more stories. Please stay.
We go wash the tire. Farabalẹ̀ now.
Madam, hello,
Brother, na 3,005.
màá fún yín ní owó pé káàdì Glo ẹlẹ́gbẹ̀rún 10,000.
Oh yeah.
Bring your phone.
Ha! 10,000.
1,000 naira credit. Now you dey turn to 10,000.
Now. All of us don't know about Glo Berekete. Ní ìlọ́po mẹ́wàá nísìnyí.
ṣé o ti gbọ́ ìlọ́po mẹ́wàá ló máa gbà lórí iye tó o bá rà sórí ohun ìpè Glo Berekete 10 times rẹ.
I told you.
Na wa go tell.
glad to know you're still watching, and you can watch us live on our website www.osrc.ng, or follow us on Facebook OSRC TV Undo, and on YouTube you can subscribe to our channel OSRC TV Undo. Nigerians are still lamenting the unavailability of funds in commercial banks almost a week after CBN affirmed illegality of the ordinary note. They say there is little or no difference since the implementation of cashless policy in January this year. Omoriola Ungbiji reports that most ATM as commercial banks are not dispensing to meet customers' demands.
Excruciating pains confronting residents of Akure, the Ondo State capital, as a result of naira scarcity may soon degenerate, as commercial banks in the city now operate with little or no cash in the vault. Some customers were sighted hung on the bank's burglary, waiting for miracles, while some queued at the ATM machine, hoping to get some cash. Many claimed they have been visiting their banks since CBN affirmed the legality of old naira notes, 500 naira and 1,000 naira, but to no avail.
Even the so-called old note and the new note, we did not see anyone in circulation. I've been here for the past 2 days, calling the name for me to get 5,000 naira, and I'm unable to get it. So I did not see any improvement in it. If you go to the bank, they'll tell you there's no money.
I left the other bank now to try down here so that maybe there will be money. Reaching here now, people are saying that they don't have money in the... You can hear from the background.
The situation is very bad because we have been here since morning, even since almost 5 o'clock. But we didn't see anything. They didn't pay us anything. They said there is no money. They said the bank is empty.
A nonagenarian, Oladoyinbo Adedoyin, who had been visiting his banks for the past 3 days with different checkbooks, frowned at the situation as he abandoned the 3,000 naira offered him as against the needed 20,000 naira.
Check imagine moko. The 13. Okay, only 13 and 20,000. The cage is more combat to say more than 5,000. So we charge the money, the what money, the needs in that if we pay in round just looking everything 20,000 money.
Traders lauded implementation of Supreme Court judgment, but still groaning over the scarcity of funds, which according to them is having negative effects on their businesses.
Nígbà tí Obi Ofele ti sọ̀rọ̀ àti Buhari ìyàtọ̀ wà. À ń bẹ ìjọba wọ́n jọ̀ọ́ kán torí Ọlọ́run kán bá wa kówó sí àwọn bank kí báǹkì lè máa fún wa ní owó kó lè máa fún àwọn customer lówó.
Speaking of the implication of this cash crunch on the nation's economy, an economic expert, Mr. Banjo Akingbadi, warned that the nation's economy will suffer the long-time negative effects if nothing is done to address the situation urgently. He advised the apex bank in the country to swing into action before citizens lose trust on commercial banks completely.
It's a social contract. When you give your money to a particular bank, by the time you want to get it, you should get it on demand. That is, on the spur of the moment. But a situation whereby you get there, you are being offered 2,000 naira, the tension, the feeling, the apprehension that, oh, will I be able to get this money back? Does it not mean that the remaining 98,000 naira is gone? So that may lead to distrust. And when that happens, credibility will be lost. You know, when credibility is lost, then interest in banking may decline.
As at the time of filing these reports, customers are still hanging around of the banks, expecting for miracles. Omoriola Hungbiji, OSRC News.
Meanwhile, 3 states, Kaduna, Kogi, and Zamfara, have finalized arrangements to initiate contempt proceedings against the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, and the Central Bank Governor, Godwin Emefiele, despite a directive to commercial banks to accept and dispense the old naira note. The lead counsel for the Free States, Abdul Hakim Mustafa, disclosed that his press statement released by CBN, in which it directed banks to accept the old Naira note, was a mere camouflage to give the impression of compliance. The Supreme Court, in its March 3rd judgment, extended the legal tender status of the old note until December 31. The National Industrial Court in Abuja has threatened to jail the Inspector General of Police Usman Baba for his persistent disobedience to court orders. The reaction of the court followed a suit instituted by 4 senior-ranking police officers who were compulsorily and unlawfully retired from police service. Counsel for the claimant, Edwin Okoro, said the court had nullified the premature retirement of the senior police officers numbering 20 and ordered the IG and the Police Service Commission to immediately restate them. Okoro, however, said the respondent had failed to obey the court judgment. In an enrolled order issued by the court and endorsed by Justice Oyebiola Oyewumi, the court fixed May 2 for the IG to appear before it and purge himself of contempt of court or be committed to prison. Security operatives attached to the convoy of the Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai have clashed with Shiite members in Bekin Ruwa area of Igabi local government area of Kaduna State. The development, according to reports, resulted to the death of at least 4 persons, while many others were injured. Reports have it that the governor's convoy came in contact with the Shiite members while they were performing their weekly procession at Bekin Ruwa along Nnamdi Azikiwe Expressway. The spokesperson of the Kaduna State Police Command, Mohammed Jalige, confirmed the incident, saying investigation was ongoing and that a statement will be issued soon. Convicted kidnap kingpin Chukwudumeme Unwamadike, popularly known as Evans, has been rearraigned before a Lagos High Court sitting in Tafa Balewa Square, Lagos, for alleged kidnapping and attempted murder. Evans was rearraigned by Lagos State government along with 3 others, Joseph Emeka, Victor Aduba, and Okakpara Ninos, before Justice Ibirunke Harrison. The defendants, who were rearraigned on a 5-count charge bordering on conspiracy, kidnapping, and attempted murder, pleaded not guilty to the charges preferred against them. Justice Harrison adjourned trial to May 3rd and 4th, 2023. In business, the federal government has reiterated its commitment to prioritize, promote, and empower micro, small, and medium enterprises, particularly women-owned ones in the country. Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, Mariam Katungum, said this on the commemoration of the 2023 International Women's Day celebration organized by the Nigerian Association of Small and Medium Enterprises. The minister said the theme of the event, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality, was most appropriate considering the current global realities, adding that technology had enhanced lives from better communication and facilitation of help connectivity. While reiterating the importance of the internet, Katangum underscored the need for more investment geared towards increasing women's and girls' digital literacy and familiarity with technology. In health, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention says at least 389 persons have been infected with diphtheria in Nigeria, killing 62 of them in 2023. The Week 9 Diphtheria Situation Report from NCDC revealed that Kano leads with 377 cases, followed by Lagos with 7, Yobe 2, while Katsina, Osun, and Kaduna reported 1 case each. Diphtheria is a bacterial infection caused by Corynebacterium species that affects the nose, throat, and sometimes the skin. Also, a total of 1,064 suspected cases were reported from 21 states, with Kano taking the lead with 843, Yobe 86, Katsina 46, Lagos 22, Sokoto 14, and Zamfara 13. And now to the foreign scene. The United States counter-terrorism training program for West African forces is underway in 3 countries. The training program known as Flintlock has brought together more than 400 soldiers from Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana to bolster the skills of forces. Akitunde Akishimola has details.
Soldiers swam onto a ferry on Ghana's Volta River, disarming the kidnappers on board. But this was not a real hostage situation. The soldiers from Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana were taking part over the past week in first-time drills organized by the United States military. It is part of the US's Flintlock program, aimed at bolstering the skills of West African forces. The initiative has expanded, says Commander of the U.S. Cooperative Command for Africa, Admiral Milton Sands, to help coastal nations tackle maritime threats.
A real issue in the Gulf of Guinea. Another one is illegal, unregulated, and unauthorized fishing. So we see a variety of different countries fishing in here and really pulling material resources, fish and protein, from the coastal West Africa shores without permission.
Sands added that illegal fishing not only robs the region of key food source, but also fuel other criminal activities, including drug and human trafficking. The commander of Ghana's Naval Training Command, Commodore Godwin Blessing, says efforts to deal with foreign stealing from Ghana's waters had been hampered by lack of resources.
If we had enough ships that are out there and they knew that we are monitoring the place, we'll be able to curb the situation.
Flintlock drills come amid an offensive by the US in Africa as it seeks to counter the influence of China and Russia on the continent. According to a 2002 report by the Financial Transparency Coalition of Non-Governmental Organizations, illegal, unreported and unregulated IUU fishing along West Africa coast is happening at an estimated $9.4 billion per year through illegal financial flows. The report says up to 10 countries involved in IUU fishing in the region, 8 were Chinese, and that a third of all vessels sported Chinese flags. Akintunde Akishimola for Osrc News.
And still on the foreign scene, Pakistan's police and other security officials have led Zaman Park, prompting celebrations among ousted Prime Minister Imran Khan's supporters who cheered. The Rangers and police personnel are closed in on Imran Khan's residence to arrest him in a corruption case. However, a court order for them to vacate prompted cheers and celebrations among his supporters.
जब तक साफ और शफाफ इलेक्शन नहीं होते और जब तक पार्टी का नया लायामल नहीं आता, हम इंशाल्लाह ताला सीसा पिलाई दीवार की तरह खड़े हैं। जो भी गोली आएगी, जो भी बुरी आंधी आएगी, वो हमें चीर के अंदर जाएगी हमारे।
And now to sport. The game of checkers, locally known as draughts, is a popular pastime for men. It is not just a game to display winning strategy, but one that helps the players improve their mood and allows a better deal with their daily lives. Osrc's Binga Oluwajano takes a look at the draughts and the skills required to play the game.
Draft is a strategic game played by two players on opposite sides of the board. Each player competes to take over the chips of his opponent and win by capturing more pieces than the other player. But for many, it is more than just a game.
You need to think fast, think ahead of the other player. So if you are playing, you have to think about 2-3 steps your opponent will take. So it makes you to think deep when you are playing it. So when you are playing, it's like a warlike game. You are playing with your opponent. It's also planning to defeat you.
Many people see it as a game of a game played by old men under the tree, but not really. It's a game that relaxes the mind, takes your mind away from so many things, and helps you to think and strategize.
At Onokon Roadblock Axis in Akure, Olushola Oshodi, popularly called Prof, who has been playing the game for the past 30 years, said it is an escape from the daily hustle and bustle of life.
How to defeat my opponent. is they are used to call I can set traps for my opponent to, once you fall on that trap, it gives me head because it cannot escape on that trap that I've lain down to him. So I specialize in how to defeat my opponent.
The game, which is played mostly by the older generation, is believed to have positive impact when played after a hard day's job or business.
Anything from 4 o'clock upward, you are free to do whatever you like. But you can't stay here by 12 or 1 o'clock. That means you don't have any work to do. So this game is good for health and for youth like me.
If you have not been practicing draft constantly, for you to be master on it will be a bit difficult.
Alabauke is a two-time champion of Ondo NUG Press Sport competition in draft. He explains the role of the youth in mastering the game.
If you are not ready to be strategic, if you are not ready to apply tactics, you may not be able to win your opponent. So to some extent, people run away from the game, especially the youth, because it's like mathematics. You calculate the step, how you move. Even you may not get to the crown position before you win your opponent if you know the correct step to take.
Some analysts say there should be corporate sponsorship and awareness of the game like chess and Scrabble among the youth to make it more competitive.
It is to the level at which you can play it, but there's not much awareness on it, whether checkers or draft. But the awareness on the game of draft is low. It's low, especially among the youth.
If you can have sponsors, more competition like the one being held by NUJ Ondo State Council. So if you have various competitions, people will know more about drafts. So people will be able, and if we have good sponsorship, and at the end, at the end when you win, when you are victorious, you will go on with something tangible or meaningful, and the youth will embrace it more.
While draft continues to gain popularity in Nigeria, players at various sports in Akure want to sharpen their skills so they can outmaneuver each other anytime they play the game. Benga Oluwajano, Osrc News.
And with that, we conclude the news tonight. But before we go, another look at the major stories. We told you that the Ondo State Police Command has ordered the restriction of all forms of vehicular movement from 12 midnight to 6 p.m. tomorrow throughout the state. There is no reprieve in sight for bank customers in Akure who have continued to struggle endlessly to get cash from banks. The Islamic Movement of Nigeria, also known as Shiites, has accused the Kaduna State Governor, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, of causing the death of its members when its security details allegedly opened fire on them during a protest in Kaduna. And from the foreign scene, we told you that the United States counter-terrorism training program for West African forces is underway in 3 countries. And that's the news tonight. Thank you very much for watching. Good evening.